We were never alone. The truth behind the alien arrival. The first signs were subtle, almost invisible to the casual observer. Scientists noticed anomalies in satellite images, tiny, precise patterns in the clouds, strange electromagnetic pulses, and signals that seemed too organized to be natural. At first, these anomalies were dismissed as errors in the data, glitches in the sensors, or unusual weather events. But a few researchers, those who had spent their lives studying the sky and the universe, knew better. Something was out there. Something intelligent. Dr. Elena Morris was one of them. A leading astrophysicist at the Global Space Observation Center, she had spent years tracking unusual signals from deep space. One evening, while reviewing data from the latest satellite scans, her eyes widened at a sequence of numbers that appeared to repeat across multiple channels. It was not random. It was intentional. She called her colleague, Dr. Ajahn Patel, a mathematician with a specialization in decoding complex patterns. Together, they began to analyze the signals. Hours turned into days, and slowly, a picture began to emerge. The signals were instructions, a map of sorts, pointing to locations on Earth that had long been considered mysterious, ancient ruins, underwater structures, and areas with unusual magnetic fields. Word spread quickly within the scientific community. Governments became involved, but carefully. No public announcement was made yet. The fear of mass panic was real. After all, humanity had never faced undeniable evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence before. Then, the sightings began. People around the world reported strange lights in the sky, hovering in perfect formation. Some were initially dismissed as drones, satellites, or atmospheric phenomena. But eyewitnesses were persistent, and the videos were unmistakable. These crafts moved in ways that defied physics as humans understood them. They accelerated and decelerated instantaneously, vanished and reappeared without warning, and formed complex shapes that suggested deliberate intelligence. Meanwhile, Dr. Morris and Dr. Patel made a groundbreaking discovery. The signals were not just pointing to locations, they were messages. The mathematical sequences contained a form of language, a code that, when deciphered, revealed a startling truth. Humanity had never been alone. Earth had been observed for millennia. The aliens, as the public would eventually call them, were not newcomers. They had always been here, quietly guiding, sometimes intervening, shaping life in ways humans could barely comprehend. But the message also carried a warning. It was a challenge, a test of humanity's readiness to join a larger cosmic community. The instructions described a series of actions that humans needed to perform, acts of unity, cooperation, and understanding. Failing to follow the guidance, the message implied, could result in consequences that no nation or technology on Earth could prevent. As the world watched the skies with a mix of awe and terror, governments began preparing for the inevitable. Militaries were placed on alert, but scientists argued for a different approach: communication, not confrontation. Yet, there was still so much fear, so much uncertainty. How do you prepare for the arrival of beings far more advanced than anything humanity had ever known? Elena, Ajahn, and their team worked tirelessly. Days and nights blurred together. They built devices capable of sending signals back in the same language, hoping to establish a first line of contact. They knew that this was humanity's moment of truth. Either they would prove worthy of contact or they would face judgment from forces beyond comprehension. Then, it happened. On a calm, clear night, lights appeared over major cities around the globe simultaneously. They hovered silently, almost respectfully, at first. But as more people observed them, the atmosphere shifted. Fear turned into curiosity. Phones and cameras captured every movement. The world was united in a way it had never been before, not through politics, not through conflict, but through the undeniable reality that humans were no longer alone. Elena felt a shiver run down her spine as she looked through her telescope. One of the crafts moved closer, stopping above her location. A hum filled the air, a sound that seemed to resonate directly in the mind rather than through the ears. And then a message arrived, not in text, not in sound, but in thought. It was clear, precise, and overwhelming in its simplicity. We have always watched. Now, you must understand. At that moment, the world changed forever. Humanity was confronted with its own place in the cosmos, forced to confront the truth behind the myths, the ancient stories, and the unexplained events that had occurred throughout history. The arrival was not an invasion, it was a reckoning, a revelation, and a call for humanity to rise to a new level of understanding. And deep within the shadows of governments and secret organizations, some knew the truth that the rest of the world was only beginning to grasp. Humanity had been guided, tested, and influenced by these beings for centuries. Nothing about the history of Earth had been entirely human in its origin. And now, the aliens were ready to reveal the next chapter. The following days were unlike anything humanity had ever experienced. News outlets struggled to keep up with the flood of eyewitness reports. Videos and photos of the alien crafts filled every screen, every social media feed. Governments struggled to maintain order, while scientists scrambled to interpret the messages that continued to arrive, not just in numbers and patterns, but now in visions, intuitions, and dreams. People reacted in different ways. Some panicked, stockpiling food, weapons, and fuel, fearing an apocalypse. Others felt awe and hope, inspired by the possibility of a universe larger than anyone had imagined. Religious leaders offered interpretations, some seeing the arrival as divine intervention, others as a test of faith. Philosophers debated the meaning of existence. But in the midst of chaos, a global truth emerged. Humanity was united by a single undeniable fact: Earth was no longer alone. Elena and Arjun were called to a secret summit of world leaders and top scientists. The meeting took place in an underground facility, reinforced and shielded against any unknown threats. The room buzzed with tension, each leader aware that the future of civilization was at stake. Dr. Patel stepped forward with a holographic display. "The signals we received are more than warnings," he explained. "They are instructions for communication. We have evidence that these beings have influenced human history for millennia. Ancient civilizations, the Egyptians, the Sumerians, even the Mayans, left records, some intentionally cryptic, of beings descending from the sky. Artifacts, structures, and texts indicate advanced knowledge far beyond the technology of their time." A senator interrupted, disbelief in her voice. "Are you saying these aliens built the pyramids?" Elena shook her head. "Not built them directly. But they guided humans. They shared knowledge, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, in ways subtle enough to appear human, but deliberate enough to advance civilization. Every major leap in human history may have been influenced, even orchestrated, by them." Gasps echoed around the room. The implications were staggering. Humanity's sense of independence, of uniqueness, was being shattered. But with the revelation came understanding. The aliens' goal had never been domination. They were observers, guardians, and testers. The signals weren't just about warning, they were invitations to join a larger cosmic community. Meanwhile, on the streets, people began to feel the impact of the arrival in more personal ways. Dreams became vivid. Individuals reported visions of distant worlds, cities in the stars, and conversations with beings who did not speak in words, but in thoughts and feelings. Artists created works that seemed to channel these visions. Musicians composed melodies that resonated in ways never heard before. Humanity was awakening to the truth that life was far broader, more interconnected, than previously imagined. Not all responses were peaceful. Military leaders insisted on preparing defenses, just in case. Nations deployed fleets of ships and missiles, fearing an attack that seemed unlikely. Some rogue factions attempted to provoke the alien crafts, only to find that their efforts were futile. The beings remained distant, observing, never responding to aggression. It became clear, confrontation was meaningless. Understanding was the only way forward. Elena, Arjun, and their team worked around the clock to establish a method of communication that could be universally understood. They developed a device capable of translating thought patterns and visions into comprehensible language. When activated, the device allowed humans to experience the signals as messages, not just code. The first test was personal. Elena and Arjun alone in a lab, their minds open to the visions of the visitors. The experience was overwhelming. Memories not their own flashed before their eyes. Entire histories of civilizations on other planets, struggles and triumphs of beings who lived for centuries, the interconnectedness of all life in the galaxy. But amid the awe, a single theme became clear. The aliens had watched, guided, and now awaited humanity's response. Would humans rise above conflict, greed, and division? Could they prove capable of thinking collectively, of acting with wisdom? The first public contact came sooner than expected. In a dramatic, coordinated display across the skies, hundreds of crafts descended, forming geometric patterns visible from every continent. Their lights pulsed in a rhythm that matched human brainwaves, synchronizing thought and perception. Across the world, millions experienced a shared vision. a council of alien beings, serene and luminous, standing in spaces that seemed to defy physics, welcoming humanity not as subjects, but as peers. A voice, or rather a thought, reached every mind simultaneously. You have been observed for eons. Your history has been shaped, your choices guided. Now, it is your time to choose. Will you unite, or will you fall to your own divisions? The world paused. Streets emptied as people looked to the skies. Conflicts paused. Borders, politics, and personal agendas faded, even briefly, under the weight of a universal truth. Humanity had a chance to step into a larger existence, but only if they were willing to act together. Some leaders embraced the moment. They called for global summits, cooperation, and peace initiatives. Others resisted, clinging to power, suspicion, and fear. Yet, even in resistance, the aliens remained patient. Their presence was a lesson in restraint, in observation, and in the patience required for true understanding. Elena watched the display, tears in her eyes. For decades, she had dreamed of proving that intelligent life existed beyond Earth. But now, that proof was more than theoretical, it was undeniable. And with it came the responsibility that no scientist had ever imagined, to guide humanity in embracing its true place in the universe. That night, as the craft slowly departed, leaving trails of shimmering light across the sky, a new chapter of history began. Humanity was no longer alone. But the real test, the test of unity, wisdom, and compassion, had only just begun. The days that followed the first public contact were filled with unprecedented activity. Humanity's collective consciousness had been awakened, and people everywhere felt the profound weight of their new reality. Governments, while still cautious, began sharing information they had kept hidden for decades, archives of unexplained phenomena, records of secret missions, and discoveries that had once been dismissed as myths or conspiracies. Elena and Arjun became central figures in this effort. Their device for translating alien thought patterns had proven invaluable, and now it was being deployed worldwide. People from all walks of life, scientists, artists, philosophers, and ordinary citizens, could experience the messages directly. The visions were overwhelming at first, but they also inspired creativity, empathy, and understanding on a scale never seen before. One night, Elena stayed late in the lab, studying patterns in the signals. She noticed something that made her blood run cold and her heart race simultaneously. The aliens weren't just observers, they were historians. Every vision, every message, contained records of human civilization that had been influenced subtly over millennia. Wars, discoveries, and migrations were not only observed but occasionally guided. Sometimes gently, sometimes decisively. The truth was staggering. Humanity's history was not entirely its own. She called Arjun immediately. "We need to see this together," she said. They activated the device and connected their minds to the alien network. Instantly, they were flooded with visions. They saw the construction of the pyramids, guided by a force that imparted knowledge beyond human capability. They saw the great library of Alexandria being burned, not by chance, but as a lesson in humility and knowledge preservation. They saw explorers reaching new continents, and moments of invention that had seemed inspired by sheer human genius, now revealed as carefully guided steps along a path set by the Watchers. "It's too much," Arjun whispered. "We've always believed we were alone, that we were the center of our own story. And yet, none of this was random." Elena nodded. But it wasn't control. They didn't dominate. They guided. They tested. They prepared us. Meanwhile, humanity began tentative steps toward cooperation on a global scale. The alien crafts continued to appear in the skies, not as threats, but as teachers. They demonstrated advanced technologies, energy sources that did not pollute, transport systems that bent space, medical devices that could heal in ways previously impossible. Yet they never gave these directly to humans. Instead, they left clues, puzzles, and challenges, requiring humanity to work together to understand and recreate them. In major cities, scientists, engineers, and thinkers formed international coalitions, sharing knowledge in ways that had once been hindered by politics, greed, and secrecy. Conflicts did not disappear entirely, but a new sense of urgency pushed nations toward collaboration. The question was no longer who would dominate, but who could rise to meet the cosmic standard set before them. Then came the first direct message. Unlike previous signals, this one was not abstract or mathematical. It was a vision delivered simultaneously to millions, a star map highlighting destinations beyond the solar system. Symbols and coordinates marked planets that had already hosted intelligent life, some thriving, some extinct. The aliens were offering humanity a choice: remain on Earth, isolated, or step forward and explore the wider universe as a recognized member of a cosmic community. The message was both exhilarating and terrifying. Humanity's limitations were clear. Technology alone could not carry them beyond Earth at the speeds implied by the star map. But collaboration, shared knowledge, and unity, these were the tools the aliens had always tested. The question now was whether humanity could rise to meet it. In the midst of global discussions, Elena uncovered something extraordinary. Hidden deep within the visions was a pattern connecting ancient monuments across the globe. From Stonehenge to Machu Picchu, from the Nazca Lines to the Great Wall, these sites were not merely cultural artifacts. They were markers, part of a planetary network. Each location contained encoded knowledge, waiting for humanity to decode it. The aliens had built a roadmap, not just to the stars, but to understanding the very essence of life and consciousness on Earth. Arjun was stunned. They've been leaving breadcrumbs for thousands of years. We were always meant to find them when we were ready. Elena looked out the window at the night sky, dotted with alien crafts. And now we're ready. Or at least, we have to try. As months passed, humanity began its first tentative missions beyond Earth, guided remotely by the alien presence. Satellites, probes, and unmanned vessels reached distant planets and moons, mapping terrain and analyzing ecosystems. Each success fueled hope, while failures reminded humans of their limitations. Yet the aliens were patient. They never intervened directly. Their role was to observe, to test, and to prepare humanity for the moment when humans could stand among the stars themselves. Back on Earth, society was transformed. Education became universal, driven by the urgent need for knowledge. Global communication networks flourished, sharing discoveries instantly. Art and culture reflected a new awareness of life's interconnectedness. And though fear and skepticism persisted, the dominant feeling among humanity was one of awakening. Then, one day, the alien crafts gathered over a remote desert in Africa. Scientists and leaders from every nation were invited, not physically, but through a collective vision, to witness something extraordinary. A portal opened in the sky, shimmering with light, revealing a glimpse of another world. A world teeming with life, advanced structures, and civilizations that had clearly achieved a level of understanding far beyond human imagination. The message was clear. This was humanity's potential. If humans could unite, learn, and rise above their conflicts, they could join this wider cosmic network. But the path would not be easy. The trials were only beginning. Elena and Arjun stood at the edge of the vision, feeling both awe and responsibility. Humanity had been watched for millennia, guided and tested. And now, for the first time, the aliens were giving them a choice: remain earthbound, or take the next step into the vast unknown. The months that followed the revelation of the star map and ancient planetary markers were filled with both triumph and tension. Humanity had never faced a challenge so vast. Nations had to set aside centuries of rivalry, scientists had to discard old paradigms, and ordinary people had to adjust to a reality in which humans were no longer the sole architects of their destiny. Elena and Arjun worked tirelessly, coordinating with international teams to decode the planetary markers. Each discovery unlocked new knowledge. Advanced mathematics hidden in sculptures, engineering principles disguised as art, even biological information embedded in ancient carvings. Humanity's ancestors had indeed been guided, and now, the same guidance was pointing forward, to the stars. Yet the aliens' tests were far from over. One evening, as Elena analyzed a new sequence of signals, her heart skipped a beat. The aliens were presenting humanity with a moral and intellectual challenge, one designed to reveal the species' readiness. The visions showed scenarios of collaboration and conflict. Communities that overcame greed and prejudice flourished, while those that succumbed to fear and selfishness faced catastrophe. These are simulations, Arjun said gravely. They are showing us outcomes based on our choices, as a species. They want to see what we'll do when given real power. The world responded in unexpected ways. Some communities embraced the challenge with unprecedented cooperation. Cities pooled resources, shared technology, and worked on projects that once seemed impossible: sustainable energy networks, global education initiatives, advanced medical research. Others, driven by fear, hoarded knowledge, built walls, and resisted collaboration. The aliens did not intervene directly, but their presence was unmistakable. Lights appeared in the skies above major decision points, subtle guidance that could be interpreted by those seeking it. In some cases, individuals reported hearing thoughts, experiencing visions that suggested solutions to conflicts or paths to success. Humanity was being taught the power of collective intelligence, empathy, and foresight. Then came the first direct interaction. Elena, Arjun, and a team of selected scientists were chosen to experience the beings in a shared, controlled environment. It was not physical contact, but a merging of consciousness, a way for humans and aliens to communicate beyond words or gestures. In a neutral mental space, the aliens appeared as luminous forms, shifting and flowing, their presence simultaneously alien and familiar. They conveyed emotions and intentions rather than words, and their first message was clear. You have come far, but the ultimate test is not knowledge. It is understanding, compassion, and unity. Elena felt a surge of questions rising in her mind. Why guide us? Why test us? The reply was not verbal, but a wave of understanding. Life is precious and rare. Intelligence is a spark that can illuminate or destroy. We watch, guide, and test, not to control, but to nurture. Every civilization has the choice to rise or fall. Your history shows promise. Now, you must decide your future. The experience left the team shaken. They returned to Earth with a renewed sense of purpose and urgency. The alien tests were not theoretical, they were ethical, social, and practical. Humanity had to demonstrate its ability to act wisely, not just technologically. Meanwhile, unrest persisted in certain regions. Groups that distrusted the aliens grew more vocal. They spread rumors that the visitors were manipulators or conquerors, hoping to destabilize global efforts. Yet, even these disruptions revealed something important. Humanity had the freedom to choose. The aliens did not enforce compliance. They observed, and every action, selfish or noble, was recorded in their vast archive of understanding. Amid these challenges, breakthroughs continued. Elena's team decoded a portion of the alien language that revealed the locations of hidden research sites beneath Earth's surface. These sites contained knowledge left for humanity long ago. Energy sources that could power cities without pollution, medical technologies that could eradicate disease, and devices capable of advanced space travel. The discoveries were staggering, but they required careful handling. The aliens had embedded moral safeguards. Misuse would trigger failures or destruction. As humanity struggled to balance ambition with caution, a larger vision became clear. The aliens' ultimate test was not for individuals, nations, or technologies, it was for humanity as a collective. Could humans transcend their divisions, greed, and fears to act as a unified species? Could they take responsibility not just for themselves, but for the planet and for life beyond it? Elena and Arjun began speaking publicly, urging global cooperation. Their message was simple but profound. The aliens have given us a chance. Our future depends on how we use it. Unity is not optional. It is the requirement for survival and growth. In private, they both knew that the road ahead would be difficult. Centuries of conflict, mistrust, and ignorance could not be erased overnight. But the alien presence had already begun transforming humanity. Small communities of collaboration became models for larger societies. Education and communication reached new heights. Even nations that had resisted change found themselves drawn into cooperation, sometimes reluctantly, sometimes inspired by the undeniable logic of survival and opportunity. And as the alien crafts continued to hover in the skies, always observing, always patient, Elena realized a profound truth. Humanity had been given not just knowledge, but responsibility. The arrival of the aliens was not an event, it was an invitation. An invitation to rise above fear, to embrace wisdom, and to step into a larger reality. The challenge was clear. Humanity was no longer alone. The test had begun, and the future of the species depended on every choice, every act of courage, and every moment of understanding. The first year after the arrival of the aliens had changed humanity in ways both subtle and profound. Cities had transformed into hubs of cooperation and innovation. Scientists, artists, and thinkers worked across borders, sharing knowledge freely. New technologies emerged, clean energy systems, advanced medicine, and transportation innovations that made life easier and more connected. Yet, even with progress, the test remained. The aliens' challenges were no longer abstract. A series of moral dilemmas appeared across the world, situations in which humanity had to choose between selfish gain and collective welfare. For instance, A new energy source capable of powering entire nations was discovered beneath a remote mountain. It was finite and delicate. Some nations wanted to claim it exclusively, seeing it as a path to dominance. Others argued it should be shared equitably, ensuring survival and advancement for all. Elena and Arjun worked tirelessly to mediate. Using the alien device, they demonstrated to leaders the possible outcomes of their choices. Visions of scarcity, conflict, and disaster flashed alongside images of cooperation, abundance, and shared growth. Slowly, the world began to lean toward unity. Yet fear lingered, and tensions simmered under the surface. Humanity was learning, but old instincts were hard to erase. Amid this turmoil, the first interstellar mission was launched. The alien star map had designated a nearby system, one that humans had once thought unreachable. The mission was unmanned, powered by technologies revealed in the ancient markers. Satellites and probes were sent ahead, guided remotely by insights transmitted by the aliens. Elena watched anxiously as the first probe crossed the threshold of the solar system. For months, data streamed back, evidence of complex planetary ecosystems, signs of civilizations that had long vanished, and structures that suggested advanced technologies. Humanity was witnessing proof that life, intelligence, and culture extended far beyond Earth. But the aliens had one final revelation. As the probe entered the distant system, a massive craft appeared, far larger and more advanced than anything Earth had produced. It did not attack. It did not communicate in words. Instead, it displayed history. Images of species across the galaxy, civilizations rising and falling, knowledge preserved and passed on. And at the center of it all was a single message: we were never alone. And neither are you. Back on Earth, the revelation shook humanity to its core. Humans had long imagined extraterrestrial life, but this confirmed that intelligence was interconnected, and that every species had a role to play in the cosmic community. The aliens were not rulers, nor conquerors. They were keepers of knowledge, stewards of life across the galaxy, and guides for civilizations that demonstrated promise. Yet, the final test remained. Humanity had seen the stars and glimpsed its potential, but would it rise above its old divisions? Conflicts still erupted in pockets of the world. Power struggles, fear, and greed challenged the progress that had been made. The aliens' tests intensified, not as punishment, but as guidance. Natural disasters were subtly influenced, ethical dilemmas presented in ways that forced nations and communities to cooperate or fail. Each success reinforced unity, each failure illuminated the cost of selfishness. Elena realized that this was not a battle of technology, but of consciousness. Humanity's greatest enemy was not the unknown, it was itself. The alien presence had accelerated evolution, not of the body, but of thought, empathy, and responsibility. Then came the moment humanity had been waiting for. A coordinated display of alien crafts filled the skies over every continent. They did not descend as observers but as participants in a shared revelation. Humanity was invited, collectively, to witness a message that had been centuries in the making. Through the visions transmitted by the alien presence, humans saw the truth of their past. Civilizations shaped and guided, knowledge hidden in art, monuments, and texts. They saw the paths not taken, wars that could have been avoided, and the potential for greatness that had always existed. And finally, they saw the future, a network of civilizations across the galaxy, united in purpose, knowledge, and responsibility. For the first time, humanity understood the full weight of its choices. The aliens had not merely arrived, they had been preparing humanity for this moment. Every challenge, every revelation, every test was part of a single goal: to determine whether humans were ready to join the broader cosmic family. Elena and Arjun stood together, watching the lights in the sky. Their minds were filled with visions of possibilities: cities in orbit, interstellar communication networks, peaceful cooperation between species, and the shared wisdom of countless civilizations. But they also knew the truth. These visions would remain unrealized unless humanity could transcend fear, greed, and division. The aliens, once distant observers, were now mentors. Their final message was simple yet profound: the choice is yours. Unity is the path. Wisdom is your guide. Step forward, or remain bound by your own limitations. As the alien crafts faded from the skies, humanity faced its greatest test, not from the stars, but from within. The true challenge had begun: to transform not only technology and knowledge, but the very nature of civilization itself. And in that quiet moment, Elena realized the ultimate truth: humanity had never been alone. It had always been observed, guided, and nurtured. Now, it was time to step into its destiny among the stars. The months following the first interstellar probe mission were filled with anticipation and tension. Humanity had glimpsed the stars and the promise of a larger community, but the path forward was uncertain. Nations and communities faced a test far greater than technological capability. It was a test of morality, wisdom, and unity. Elena and Ijun were at the center of this effort, coordinating global initiatives to solve problems collaboratively. From climate control to disease eradication, humanity was rapidly learning to act as one species rather than many fragmented nations. Yet old habits persisted. Greed, fear, and suspicion still simmered beneath the surface, and the aliens' presence served as a constant reminder that every choice carried weight beyond immediate consequences. Then, the next phase began. Unlike before, this was not a test presented through visions or indirect messages. It was tangible, undeniable, and immediate. Alien crafts began appearing over major centers of innovation, hovering silently but unmistakably. They did not attack, they did not communicate in human language. Instead, they transmitted experiences, mental images and emotions shared directly with those observing. Elena was among the first to witness it. She felt herself lifted into a vision, standing on a vast platform overlooking a city unlike any on Earth. Towers of light and energy stretched into the sky, transportation flowed through invisible channels, and beings of radiant form moved effortlessly, collaborating with one another. A profound sense of peace and purpose filled her mind. She understood, without words, that this was what humanity could achieve if it embraced unity and wisdom. But alongside this vision came warnings. She saw what could happen if humanity failed. Cities in chaos, natural resources depleted, conflicts spreading across continents, and knowledge lost to selfishness and greed. The message was clear: success required cooperation at a scale never before achieved. The first human-alien interaction followed soon after. A team of scientists and leaders, including Elena and Arjun, was invited to participate in a controlled meeting. It was not physical in the traditional sense. Instead, the aliens transmitted a shared consciousness, a merging of human and alien perception. In this space, barriers of language, culture, and biology were irrelevant. The aliens appeared as luminous, flowing forms, shifting constantly yet recognizable as distinct beings. Their presence conveyed calm, wisdom, and an unshakable sense of purpose. They shared their history, civilizations across the galaxy, each observed, guided, and tested. They explained that life, intelligence, and morality were precious, rare, and fragile. Civilizations that failed to grow beyond fear and selfishness often destroyed themselves or vanished into obscurity. "You have been observed," the aliens communicated directly to Elena and the others, "for millennia. Your achievements, failures, and choices are known. Your moment has arrived. Will you take your place among the stars, or remain bound by your own limitations?" The implications were staggering. Humanity had been guided, challenged, and nurtured, and now the opportunity to step into a cosmic community had arrived. But it was conditional. The aliens made no promises. They offered tools, visions, and guidance, but humans would have to prove themselves worthy, not as individuals, but as a species. Back on Earth, the impact of this interaction was immediate. A wave of inspiration and determination spread globally. Governments collaborated on a scale never seen before, creating unified research programs, space exploration initiatives, and global problem-solving networks. Education systems shifted to emphasize critical thinking, empathy, and cooperation. Art, music, and literature reflected the awe and possibility of humanity's new potential. Yet not all were ready. Some resisted the change, clinging to power, wealth, or tradition. Conflicts erupted in isolated regions, fueled by fear and mistrust. But even in these moments, the aliens remained observers, offering guidance through visions and subtle interventions that encouraged peaceful resolution rather than conflict. Humanity's true test was not in exploration or technology, it was in moral and social maturity. As preparations for the first human-crewed interstellar mission advanced, Elena and Arjun worked to ensure that the chosen team understood the responsibility they carried. This was not merely a journey of exploration, it was a mission to demonstrate humanity's readiness to act wisely, ethically, and collaboratively on a cosmic scale. Every decision, every interaction, would be observed, recorded, and evaluated. Finally, the day arrived. The mission team, equipped with technology guided by the alien markers and the star map, boarded a vessel designed to traverse interstellar distances. Earth watched in anticipation, hope, and fear. The launch was flawless, but the stakes were higher than any human had faced before. The aliens were no longer distant watchers. They were active participants in humanity's journey, mentors and guides in a challenge that would determine the species' place in the universe. As the vessel disappeared into the depths of space, Elena reflected on the journey so far. Humanity had been tested for centuries, guided for millennia, and now faced its ultimate challenge, to step into the vast unknown with wisdom, unity, and purpose. The aliens' true intentions had always been clear: to nurture, to challenge, and to reveal humanity's potential. And for the first time, humans understood fully. They had never been alone. The human-crewed interstellar mission had entered uncharted territory. The vessel, powered by technologies revealed in ancient markers and refined with alien guidance, traversed space faster than any human-made craft had ever achieved. Inside, the crew, selected not just for skill but for wisdom, empathy, and cooperation, experienced a profound sense of responsibility. Every decision they made could reflect on the entire species. As they approached the first designated star system, the crew encountered evidence of civilizations long vanished. Entire planets were abandoned, their cities frozen in time, leaving behind mysterious structures and technologies. Some bore striking resemblance to human architecture and technology, suggesting a common thread of influence. The aliens had been present here as well, guiding other intelligent species, testing their growth, and recording their choices. Captain Amir Hassan, the mission leader, recorded in his log, "We are seeing proof of what we were warned about. Civilization without unity collapses. Life is fragile. Intelligence is precious. We must learn from what we find, or risk repeating the same mistakes." Meanwhile, on Earth, Elena and Arjun monitored the mission closely. They received streams of data not just in scientific terms but as visions, emotional and intellectual impressions that the aliens transmitted alongside the physical measurements. Humanity was witnessing history unfold in real time. Triumphs and failures, the rise and fall of civilizations, the beauty and fragility of life. But the deeper revelation came when the crew encountered an active civilization. Unlike Earth, this species was highly advanced, yet cooperative, peaceful, and ethically conscious. The humans observed how knowledge was shared openly, conflicts were resolved through consensus, and technology was used to sustain life rather than dominate it. The contrast with Earth was stark. Dr. Arjun Patel, observing remotely, realized the significance. This is what the aliens were preparing us for. Not just to survive, but to join a community of civilizations that have learned to value wisdom over power. The mission team made contact through the alien-facilitated communication method. Their hosts shared insights not as instructions, but as experiences, allowing humans to perceive the consequences of their own choices and the potential of collective action. Humanity's understanding expanded beyond science and technology into philosophy, ethics, and empathy on a universal scale. Yet, even in these extraordinary discoveries, the crew faced tests. The aliens introduced challenges that forced the humans to make choices under pressure. Decisions about resource allocation, the ethics of intervention, and cooperation under uncertainty. Every choice was observed, and the consequences mirrored back as visions and outcomes, teaching lessons that could not be learned through data alone. Back on Earth, these lessons sparked global reflection. Nations reconsidered priorities, corporations redefined goals, and communities experimented with new ways of living. Conflicts did not vanish, but a new framework for resolution emerged, inspired by the interstellar experiences. Humanity was slowly internalizing the alien message. Unity, wisdom, and empathy were not optional. They were essential for survival and advancement. Then came a pivotal turning point. During a particularly complex simulation, the crew faced a dilemma. A planet in the new system was home to a sentient species at the brink of extinction. The aliens offered no guidance, forcing humans to make the ethical decision themselves. Captain Hassan and the team deliberated, considering the risks, the morality, and the potential outcomes. Ultimately, they chose to intervene, carefully aiding the species without imposing dominance. The aliens responded, not with words, but with a wave of shared understanding. Approval, yes, but also a lesson. Intervention was not about control or superiority. It was about empathy, responsibility, and respect. The humans had taken a step forward, demonstrating their capacity for ethical judgment and compassion. On Earth, News of the mission's ethical success spread, inspiring millions. Humanity began to see itself as part of a larger network of life, accountable not only for its own survival but for the stewardship of knowledge, ecosystems, and civilizations beyond its own planet. Elena reflected on the journey so far. The aliens didn't arrive to conquer or teach in a traditional sense, she said to Arjun. They arrived to show us the consequences of our choices, to guide us toward a path we couldn't find alone. Every civilization they've touched has been a lesson in potential and responsibility. The mission continued, each discovery reinforcing the truth that humans had never been alone. The stars were no longer distant mysteries, they were destinations, classrooms, and mirrors reflecting humanity's potential. The alien presence was no longer a threat, nor a distant enigma. They were partners, mentors, and witnesses, ensuring that humanity could step into the wider universe with wisdom, compassion, and unity. And for the first time, humanity felt the full weight of its place in the cosmos. Not as conquerors, not as isolated beings, but as part of an interstellar community capable of great creation, and, if it failed, great destruction. The final tests were still ahead, but hope, understanding, and purpose had never been stronger. The culmination of humanity's journey was approaching. After years of preparation, trials, and ethical tests, the aliens had finally indicated that the time had come for the final assessment. The skies over every continent shimmered with an otherworldly light as alien crafts gathered, not in menace, but in anticipation. Humanity was about to face its ultimate challenge, to demonstrate unity, wisdom, and responsibility as a species. Elena and Arjun stood together, observing the extraordinary display. The lights pulsed in harmony with the planet itself, a reminder that every choice humans made had a ripple effect beyond comprehension. People everywhere paused. Wars ceased. Conflicts were temporarily forgotten, and eyes turned upward, united in awe and expectation. The aliens did not descend physically. Instead, they projected a shared vision into the minds of humans around the globe. Every person, regardless of language, culture, or belief, experienced the same message, a panorama of humanity's past, present, and potential future. Wars, triumphs, innovations, failures, and moments of compassion all appeared, highlighting both strengths and flaws. Then came the vision of the future, a future contingent on the choices humanity would make in the coming weeks. Cities powered by clean energy, interstellar travel, cooperation across nations, eradication of poverty and disease, and the cultivation of knowledge and culture. But alongside it were warnings: division, selfishness, exploitation, and violence leading to environmental collapse, resource scarcity, and societal decay. Elena felt the weight of the vision on her mind and soul. "It's all in our hands," she whispered to Arjun. "The aliens aren't forcing us, they are showing us the path, but we must walk it ourselves." The aliens then conveyed another truth. Humanity had always been observed, guided, and protected because of its potential. Every act of discovery, every creative achievement, every act of compassion had been noticed. Humanity had never truly been alone. Unseen guardians had shaped the species' trajectory subtly, ensuring survival while offering opportunities for growth. For the first time, humans understood fully. The ancient myths, the unexplained phenomena, and the sudden leaps in knowledge were all connected. The pyramids, Stonehenge, the Nazca Lines, and other monuments were not just human achievements, they were markers, lessons, and messages left for a species capable of understanding them when ready. In the days that followed, humanity united in unprecedented ways. The first interstellar missions with human crews were launched, informed not only by alien guidance but also by a newly cultivated global ethic. Nations collaborated openly, sharing resources, knowledge, and expertise. Communities transformed, guided by principles of empathy, cooperation, and responsibility. Elena and Arjun oversaw the development of the first human-alien collaboration projects. Humans and aliens worked together on distant planets, combining experience and creativity to explore, learn, and create. The presence of the aliens was no longer distant or mysterious. They were partners, guiding humanity toward a sustainable, ethical, and expansive future. The final revelation came as a message embedded in a vision of pure understanding. The aliens conveyed that humanity's journey was never about technology alone, nor about survival by force. It was about consciousness, wisdom, and moral growth. Civilizations across the galaxy faced the same challenges, and only those that embraced cooperation, empathy, and foresight could endure and thrive. Elena felt a profound sense of peace. Humanity had been tested, observed, and guided for centuries, and now it had the chance to rise fully. "We were never alone," she said aloud, knowing that the phrase carried the weight of history, truth, and promise. "And now we have the chance to be something greater." Across the world, people shared the same realization. Fear gave way to hope. Division began to yield to cooperation. The stars were no longer distant mysteries. They were destinations, classrooms, and mirrors reflecting humanity's potential. The aliens remained in the skies, silent but ever-present, a constant reminder of what could be achieved through unity, wisdom, and compassion. Humanity had stepped into a new era. One where knowledge, responsibility, and empathy were as important as technology, where the planet was a shared home, and where the species could finally claim its place among the stars. And through it all, the ultimate truth endured. Humans had never been alone. They had always been part of a larger, guiding presence, a cosmic family waiting for them to understand, grow, and finally join. And as the alien craft slowly disappeared into the distance, leaving trails of shimmering light across the sky, humanity looked upward, not with fear, but with hope, purpose, and the knowledge that the universe was vast, wondrous, and filled with possibilities beyond imagination. The journey was only beginning, but humanity was ready.